Welcome, everybody. This is Netta Pitt. I'm the host of the CISO's Current, a CISO's Connect podcast.
Today, I have Vlad from Life Extensions, and we're just going to talk about what the difference is and where the organization and where the CISO role is moving towards in much more of a leadership and much more of an enabler in the business. So, Vlad, would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. My name is Vladislav, and Vlad short. I always make a point to, reintroduce myself. I'm a CISO of Life Extension, the company which is dedicated last 40 years to improve people's lives by providing the nutraceutical elements of supplements and education to improve people's life, to, make them happy and live longer, which is kind of tailgating the question, yeah, where does the CISO, goes? Because at this time and age, we all know what CISO's jobs encompass. It's been very esoteric, another C title to people and their job responsibilities. Today, it's a little bit more. Why? Is because we became pretty notorious in all the different podcasts, news, and typically bad news was associated with what we do. So cybersecurity as a business, whether it's good or bad, I can't really speak to that effect. It's a business which ultimately enables businesses to do better. So it's a business within the business, as we talk about the Vatican within, so it's a business within the business. And that's why when I started my career, there's discussions about how do you come into career in the first place, from the technical background, from the business background, from maybe accounting background even. I came from trenches, as we call it. And I think that was part of my limited success, because I want to be, level-headed. I am the dumbest, person in the room when it comes to.
Pretty sure that's not the case, but yes, I understand.
Maybe now it became a cliche too, because it's one way to kind of gain the traction with the teams which are always have Bob on the team, the Bob
Right.
with the, from the data center, as we call it. So coming from that background into the job, you basically say, well, it's pretty much the same thing with more responsibilities to report on. But shortly thereafter, we realize it's much more. It's a world on its own. It's very dynamic. Responsibilities is just, I think, understatement, because their responsibilities, their discoveries, their soul searching. There's motivation. There's visioning. There are a lot of things. Plus everything what we need to do in the past: study, learn, appreciate, try, fail fast, fail forward, and all those good things. So that's where we are today. What's changed is pace, dynamic, and the energy which we put in. And it takes a certain individual, and not necessarily technically capable, but more business-like, plus human within him or her to move forward. And I think that's what I personally pursuing.
Yeah, I mean that's a perfect segue because I think that's the change, right? I think the industry's catching up to what we've already seen, right? And we already know because at the end of the day, it's all about relationships and us building those relationships with the other different business units, with the other different C levels to be able to understand what the business goals are and how we're going to enable those business goals to meet what we're supposed to from a business, but also do that securely, right? And you know, maybe we can talk about, you know, I I've been around the security, we used stone tablets when I first started, right? That's how old and long I've been in the business. But we used to be seen as the group of no. And now I think it's changed. And I think it's now how do we enable you? How do we make you run fast? My perspective is if I can build services, because everybody else has built services. If so, I can build security services and let you plug into them, you're going to run fast. My developers don't need, they need to understand security, but they don't need it to know it at my level. they need to be able to plug into something that's secure. So maybe you can talk to, how you tackle that in your organization.
I love listening to the question, and that probably by itself is already the answer embedded in it. If you listen well, you will hear what potential answer might be. And you're a perfect example. As I'm listening to it, I said, Netta, you got it. You got, 80% of vocabulary there. So all we need to do is spend time to put it together in appropriate order. And that is the key. Obviously, we do like to use cliches, me including. English is my second language, so I, take full advantage of it. But cliches are good because that's the way how we remember. Like when you go to place, you remember it by color, by smell, by taste. Well, cliches help me to navigate and remember direction. Department of No, very well known cliche, so we use it all the time. And I think this is where I gained certain individualism in the way how I approach position. I am always introducing myself. I'm not a typical security guy. I am exactly what you just mentioned. How do I show you how to do what you want to do in the most safest way possible? If you want to jump off the roof, I can't stop you. But let me at least understand how I can do it so that maybe you'll get some trampoline on the bottom of it, or maybe you're gonna fly to the bottom, but you can still make your jump. This is the most dramatic example I can make, but approach to business is the same. When I come to the company, I obviously do the first, interviews and meetings with all the technical team.
Right.
They know who they're gonna work with and what to expect. So that way, the next 2 weeks, whatever I'm going to take, they're not going to run away not knowing what to expect.
Right.
So they stick around. After that, I spend a lot of time with the business leaders to understand what hurts, where they're going, what their vision is, and try to listen, not to talk. Listen, take notes, take those key phrases. So that allows me to take all that vocabulary and spend maybe 80-20 Pareto rule always works, spend 20% of my time to put them in appropriate order, direct them and explain them and educate them. How can they get there faster, safer, and hopefully in one piece? So approach, obviously, exactly as your question, and embedded already the answer in it. Listen, enable, and move forward and educate.
And I think that the education part, like again, I think that there's that education part that's happening, and that transformation that's happening in the C-level and the executive board, because it used to be like security is an expense, security is a draw on our organization. And now through education and through listening, right, I think we're able to have those discussions about risk, right, and changing the dynamic. Instead of I need this new shiny tool, to this is the amount of risk that we have, and then this is how I can reduce that risk, and then this is what it means for you, right? So talk to me about how you've been able to do that with your executive team and with the board, and really kind of drive that conversation more around the risk and enabling decisions based on that, and not based on true technology. We're always going to be technologists. It's just inevitable. But we're learning to speak the business dialogue and the business language, and inevitably we speak two languages. And so there's always has to be a translator. And I think the CISOs are becoming that translator. What are your thoughts on that?
A lot of thoughts. So I just need to make sure how to give it concise, because even after people listening, they will walk away with certain notion.
Right.
So I want to make sure that I'll give those pointers. The first one is, it's interesting you mentioned the CISOs, the translators, and obviously it's a skill which you need to develop. There are technical, highly technical CISOs, and there may be less technical CISOs, and then you may say, well, how do we compare the two? Who's more effective? I always bring example of lawyers within the organization, where you have, if I have a lawyer, you have to have a lawyer. Why? Is because like it's a modem in old days, that, a cringy sound on one, end, only modem can understand it. So when we CISO speak, we try to develop that and train ourselves to deliver the message in the way that it's well understood and not in technical terms. How do I do it personally? Once again, I am technology agnostic. Coming into the company, I try to understand what the landscape is and really try to understand what's the not the symptom, but the root cause. If they have a technology stack, which I kind of look and cringe and I say, well, this is old, I would never say that. I say, is it old because there is not sufficient amount of money dedicated? Maybe it was not well understood. Maybe they don't care about it, which again shows you all three different possibilities.
Right.
Big risk appetite, no understanding, negligence, all these things. And that's what I try to treat. So if it is lack of understanding, I need to educate. Whether it's a board or members, one-on-one, I spend the time. If it's not significant amount of budget available, totally different issue. Sit down and understand. Maybe we need to run the security as a business, as we all say now. And that is another approach. I actually tried that approach because my previous organization, large institution, that was a perfect example. It was not necessarily not enough understanding, but the money were not where they're supposed to. So let me run the business, security business, as the business and show them not only we can actually do what we want to do, we can potentially become profit center for the organization.
Right.
That was interesting twist. Obviously, it got traction. Idea moved us forward and say, hold on, if you can make money, that's great. But now what can you do for business? And that opened a totally different door. So
And it's about opening the doors
Yeah.
so that you can have the conversation, right? And coming in and being that person that is willing to help and willing to listen is so important. So I mean, it's the game changer, I think. And I think you clearly are driving that within your organization, and your organization is extremely lucky to have you. And I just wanted to thank you very much for being part of the podcast and sharing your thoughts. And hopefully we'll have you back on and we can have some more conversations. But this has been really amazing and super fun. So thank you very much.
my pleasure. I'm very happy, to get a chance. And I say all things come unexpected, just like this interview. So thank you so much. Pleasure meeting you too as well at the RSA event.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Have a great day.
You too.
Thank you, everybody, for joining us today on the CISOs Connect Current, a CISOs Connect podcast. I look forward to seeing you on our next episode. Thank you.